Sou o Filipe Martins, tenho estudado Godinho nestes últimos anos e a minha palestra tem a ver com as influências culturais e as influências estrangeiras que sejam perceptíveis na obra de Domingos Luís Godinho, a Arte de Esgrima, e os motivos que o terão levado a esta altura a escrever esta obra. Bom, em primeiro lugar, temos de ter em conta que a história de Portugal, a história militar de Portugal, e inclusive a história também de Espanha. Zu, do you want me to speak in English rather than Portuguese?
If you want, I mean.
Okay, so just for you, your special. Okay, so like Spain, Portugal suffered a lot of foreign influences throughout its history. So we can trace all those influences even before Portugal existed, from the Celts, and they invaded the Iberian Peninsula, and then the Romans, Carthaginians, etc. Then the Visigoths and all the Germanic tribes, and also the Arabs, and later on even Frankish or other Western European influences. So those influences are very baited in the military arts, military terminology, even weapons. For instance, we have ginete in Portuguese, or montar a gineta, which is clearly traced from a Moorish background, Moorish tribe, Zanata, ginete, or adail alferes, which have Arab origins, adalid or alfaris, so the captain of the horses or the one who carries the banner. Also, of course, Roman influences, militia, spada, and Visigothic or Gothic influences, even from the word guerra, which has a Germanic origin. Also, those influences can be viewed, for instance, in the art of war, light infantry, light cavalry, which are usually attributed to Northern African influences. But also, for instance, horse riding in a couch stance, okay, which can be traced to more Frankish, let's say this, Frankish influences. Okay. Portugal had this foreign influence. We can also see, for instance, in literature, for instance, our king was King Dom Duarte, had read Vigessus, which is Roman, and of course we also imported foreign experts and foreign weapons. For instance, our first admiral of the sea was Japanese, Emmanuel Pessanha. And also we imported weapons. For instance, this kind of mechanism here, Stampelute lock, comes from Bohemia. Interestingly, we acquired this sort of weapon, we reproduced this sort of weapon, sort of lock, and then with the discoveries, it went into Goa, India, and then to Japan. So the Japanese tepo is actually a descendant from a Bohemian kind of arquebus that we got, okay, through trade. Obviously, it was not just foreign influence coming to Portugal. Also, the Portuguese also went abroad. Right? So we have a lot of Portuguese military who went abroad to Spain and Italy, mostly. And so with newly acquired knowledge, they came back to Portugal, and so they started to write military manuals, and they started to build fortress in new style, Italian style. So there was this cultural interchange between what we got from abroad and what our people got from abroad. Okay, and so we can see a lot of Portuguese treatises that were written in the 16th century, and including translation from the Tratado de Lavado from Batista de la Valle. Also, we can see a lot of foreign influences, foreign influences, especially Spanish, at court. We can see music and singing from the Cancioneiro Geral, or the several cancioneiros, which is a collection of tunes and songs for the court. At least half of them are Spanish. Actually, I think that it's more than that, more than half. Also, foreign influences were also important in terms of legislation. One of them, which is the side of the swords. Okay, so we had smaller swords, but in 1565, our king said that, well, yeah, because foreign nations, they have big swords and so on, and our soldiers go to fight abroad very often, and sometimes they are in a disadvantage, so our swords should be bigger. They were 5 palms long, and our king changed that a little bit, so they would be 5 palms of blades, so a bit longer. Okay, 5 palms of blade, and then the handle. Also, this is a curiosity, the Philippine ordinances, okay, 1595, so also when we had a Spanish king, okay, this is interesting because the montante, the big swords, two-handed swords, were limited in Lisbon to foreigners only. So Portuguese could not carry a big weapon in Lisbon, but foreigners could. Why? I don't know, but anyway, it's interesting. Okay, Arte de Esgrima, our book. It was written, according to my thesis, in 1599, because in the book it's clearly dated 1599, by Domingos Luís Godinho, which is a Portuguese author, born in Santarém. We don't know much about him. We have a hint that he would be married, because he says in his book that no bachelor should be examined to become a master. Therefore, if a bachelor should not be a master, if he is a master, therefore he must be married, okay, or at least widow, something like that. We'll see that later on. Why did he wrote this book in 1599 and in Spanish? Broken Spanish, I agree, but in Spanish nevertheless. Why? Well, my thesis is the following. In 1580, in 1578, our king, Don Sebastião, the guy who wrote the legislation about the swords, he died in battle. 2 years later, there was a war. The Spanish troops invaded Portugal, and we became united under one crown. Philip II of Spain, Philip I of Portugal. So there was a new dynasty, the Spanish dynasty. And Spanish became sort of lingua franca and lingua of highly educated people. Let's not forget that the Portuguese court was bilingual. They spoke Portuguese and Spanish. They listened to Spanish songs, so bilingual. Spanish was a good language for someone to promote himself. If you wanted to have a wider scope for readers, and to promote himself. In 1598, King Philip I of Portugal, second of Spain, died, and so a new king, Philip III of Spain, second of Portugal, came to power. So that would be a nice occasion to someone to promote himself. For what? For higher ranks, for higher position, namely to teach the nobles at court. We had a position of mestre de armas dos moços fidalgos, master of arms of the moços fidalgos. Moços fidalgos were the gentry that served the king directly, so nobles that served the king, the court, not other nobles. Okay, and so they had also a very special education, namely fencing. And also, let's not forget. Okay, I don't have it written here, but the old master of the most fidalgos was getting old. Actually, he died some 5 years later. Okay, so he was getting old. So why not? If someone wants to promote himself, this is a good date because there's a new king, new power, new people. Okay, let's write in Spanish, and hey, let's show off a little bit. Hey, notice me. Why not? Okay. Also, the Arte de Esgrima, and this was also referred by Alexander yesterday. Arte de Esgrima deals with a lot of weapons. All the range of weapons that should be examined, okay? And we have records of earlier exams in Spain. Unfortunately, we don't have them. Yeah, we don't have them in Portugal, but in Spain we do. And the exams for becoming a master of arms deals with sword alone, sword and rodela, sword and dagger, sword and cape, sometimes two swords, montante. Occasionally dagger alone, spear, and so on. But in this case, he deals with sword, sword and dagger, sword and buckler, ish, because he only has 5 chapters in sword and buckler. He didn't like buckler that much. Sword and rodela, oh yeah, he did like this one. Sword and rodela. For him, the one who deals with sword and rodela well doesn't need to deal with dagger or buckler. This suffices. Sword and cloak, like I said, 2 swords and montante. He's especially known for the montante. Okay, and also, this is important. He refers the duties of a master of arms and of his pupils. Who should be elected? How should they behave? It's all down. How they should honor the master. How the master should honor, let's say this way, the students, and so on. So the proper behavior. So I think this treatise was really for himself to promote someone of higher rank. So this is the sum of what I said. Treatises could be intended to promote him to one of mentioned posts like Master of Arms of the most fidalgos or Master Examiner. So someone who examines someone to become a master. And like I said earlier, he was probably married, and this is interesting. In 1609, Philip II of Portugal authorizes this woman, Maria Nunes de Azevedo, to be a healer of women and children. And it refers that she is married to a master examiner, Domingos. So maybe, who knows, this is our Domingos Luís Godinho. In Portugal, they usually treat the masters for their first name, not the surname. Okay. Now, where did Godinho learn his fencing? We don't know. Sorry. But we have some hints. Okay, so the type of fencing that he practices, which is vulgar destreza, unfortunately we have no other book dealing with this sort of this style of fencing. But we have some experts. We have some experts of the Spanish manuscript from 1580 that deals mostly with steps and cuts and so on. It's very small, just like a few lines, but they match just like that with Godinho. So maybe it was from the same school or the same sort of school. We don't know, but this is a hint. There were Portuguese fencers who went to Spain to be examined. So, then there were also some Spanish fencing masters who came to Portugal. So, there was a crisscross cultural relationship. It was not, we cannot say, oh, this is Spanish fencing, this is Portuguese fencing. No, it's hey, just like we came here, okay, and you go to Portugal, it was just the same, okay. Also interesting, Lee mentions this rules, okay, system of repetition. Okay, we do this, and so it creates a mechanic, okay, a situational situation. That's a pleonasm. Situation system. Okay, when this happens, we do this. When that happens, we do that. Okay. And Luis Barbaran and Pablo de Paredes also mentioned these reglas, rules. So maybe it's another hint that that Godinho learned perhaps in Spain, or perhaps there was a common school. Unfortunately, we cannot say that he really got his fencing from Spain, because it doesn't use. He wrote in Spanish. If he had written in Portuguese and he used Spanish terms, oh yeah, in that case we could say, well, yeah, this guy got it from Spain. Or, for instance, in some French fencing books, we have clear Italian terminology. Yeah, we know that those guys learned from the Italians. Okay, but in this case, we do not know. More. So, to sum it up, Arte de Esgrima, written in Castilian, Spanish, okay? When the Habsburgs were reigning in Portugal, language chosen perhaps a way to apply for a higher position so that other people, higher people, could understand and approve. There's some similarities between Godinho and some other contemporary fencing schools in Spain. And so there's a strong connection, in my view, of what Godinho was doing and what the Spanish were supposedly doing by his time. Okay. And now, this is very important, in my view. Education at court. Godinho was perhaps trying to apply for a higher rank. For whom? For commoners? For people from the street? No. For people who were nobles. What kind of education should a noble have? Okay. And this is where Baldassare Castiglione enters. Okay. He wrote this book, Il Cortegiano, the courtesan, where it's a very interesting book, by the way. If you have the chance to, it's online, so you can get it for free. It was so important, this book, that it continued to be edited and read widely up until mid-18th century. So you can see it's from 1528, so you can imagine. It's a sort of, they have a dialogue at court, court of Milan, I think, Urbino, yeah, Urbino. So the nobles just gather and they start to talk, oh, well, what shall we discuss right now? Well, and some guy just had, oh, why not discuss the proper qualities of a noble? How should he be? Okay? And she also, because they also talk about women, and interestingly, they praise women a lot. Like, not just, yeah, they're okay, but almost equal to men in terms of virtue. So, it's a very interesting book, even to these days. Okay? What basic education should a noble have? First, really, handling weapons well. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay. You should practice fight. When I say fight, it's hand-to-hand fight, close combat. Okay, wrestling, and also perform physical exercises. And they did. They were not just standing there and practicing fencing. They did weightlifting and so on, so on. Second quality, of course, be gracious, be pleasant. Okay, don't be rude. That's a normal quality for anyone, but especially for nobles, that's very important, especially at court. Know how to have a conversation. That's something that you all need to practice. Be modest and circumspect. This is also important. People who are always boasting themselves, no, that should be avoided. Be quiet, modest. Okay. Of course, knowing how to court ladies, obviously. Be a good dancer. I stress that. Important, in my view. No, it's important. Because, listen, when you're a good dancer, it means that you move your feet quite well. Do you think that's important for fencing? Okay. When you dance to a tune, right? And what does the tune must have? Rhythm. Do you think that rhythm is important for fencing? I do. I think You all agree with me. So dancing, good dancing. Yeah, knowing how to recite and read, of course, he should be educated, okay? He and she. Be erudite. This is important because this includes the classics. Not just reading contemporary literature. By this time, knowing the classics was even more important because the authority came from, no, this book has like 1,000 years. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Oh, this book was written yesterday. Oh, yeah, that's okay. It's a new thing. Okay? So reading the classics is important. Writing prose and verse, and then Castilian, because these are his qualities. Castilian was a perfect gentleman. Connoisseur of painting, yes, sculpture, that's okay. Architecture, why? Because architecture teaches us how to use mathematics, geometry, and that's very useful for constructing fortresses, for war. Painting. Also, it stressed that painting and drawing, very important to draw maps, draw fortifications, stuff like that from the enemy. Okay, and oh yeah, and no music. You know, rhythm, music, that's it. And it says that learning is more necessary for a military person than any other. In Spain, they also developed the same system. Castilian was also very important in Spain. But I want to stress this one. Juan de Silva, so it was called of Porto Alegre, he had this book, Introducción de Juan de Vega, su hijo, su filho, Hernando de Vega. Actually, it's like a letter from father to his son, telling him, well, how you should behave. Okay, you're going abroad to the court, so behave like this. And Vega states this thing: a young courtier should respect a soldier who, in of low fortune, has acquired through merit and so on, to raise himself to a higher ranks, like field master of infantry, maestre de campo, or cavalry colonel, something like that. He stresses that the eminence of the letters, the erudite, should also have been found here. No, they should be respected, but Juan de Vega seemingly was not a friend of the learned. How does this connect with Godinho? Godinho, in fact, I think it was, I wouldn't say simpleton, that would be too much, but it was a common man. Okay? I don't think it was from the court, really. But he tried to show, because he had to show himself to people of higher status. So he tried to show himself as also learned man. And this we can hint from some stuff. In this marginalia, I can point it here, is this one, okay? It says that jugar es mecánico, entender es arte liberal. Entender, to understand is a liberal art. And it refers to illustrious people. So, they're not commoners. Okay, what does this mean? Jugar es mecánico, entender es arte liberal. To play is the mechanic, to understand is liberal. This actually comes, this is interesting, it actually comes from scholasticism, from old school, Aristoteles and so on. They had this concept that there were 7 higher arts, higher types of knowledge, 7 lower types of knowledge. Okay? The lower were the mechanical arts, which are the ones that we need to work. Okay? So for instance, tailoring, agriculture, architecture was mechanical, not liberal. Military and martial arts, and hunting, commerce, cooking, metallurgy. Then they were changed to navigation, theatrical arts, remind this, theatrical arts, and medicine, yeah. Because these were practical things that people did. Unlike the ones from the liberal arts. Arithmetic, grammar, logic, astronomy, arithmetic, geometry, and music. Geometry and music. You see verdadera destreza? That's where they will get the things. So, for Godinho, practice of fencing, and this we can read in another chapter. Practice of fencing. Practice was assimilated to a theatrical art, which is mechanical, because they rehearsal with the reglas, with the rules, until it becomes perfect. Okay, so that just like we do when we are performing or rehearsing a play. Okay, but Godinho writes in the context that the mechanical arts try to debilitate themselves, become higher, okay, for educated people. Therefore, they started to invoke geometry and mathematics. We have examples of this: Camilo Agripa, Sanchez de Carranza, Narvaez, Ghisliero, and Docciolini. Yeah, the Italians also did it, in an explicit way, okay, because they had it before. For instance, Barroso, it also has geometry, but it's not so explicit. This was, and this a picture from Ghisliero, which is quite interesting because it has full geometry. Okay, and in his final chapters, there's a reference to Caesar, okay, to Cicero, the young Chrysostomos over Diogenes. Actually, he didn't refer to Diogenes the cynic, but was this guy that lived in a cup for wine. Okay, he wrote something about I think the Pythian games, stressing that we should not just praise physical prowess. For instance, in running. Okay, okay, this guy runs fast. Okay, let's put a horse running with him. Let's see who's winning. Okay, I should give the prize to a horse. No, what we should praise is the intellect. Okay, the intellect is higher than just physical prowess. Okay. So to sum it up, Godinho tried to demonstrate that fencing was not just a mechanical art, but was higher. It was a liberal one, based on knowledge, true knowledge of fencing, what we must do. Okay, not just repeating. Okay, without thinking. Okay, and this I think would connect to people who we try to teach that would have this higher education. So, conclusion. First, I think the Arte de Esgrima is an example of cultural integration between Portugal and Spain, and so we have these intercultural connections between these two areas of the Iberian Peninsula. He tried to demonstrate, albeit we can say he was not very good at it. We tried to demonstrate a bit of erudition, a bit of knowledge, more than just a common fencing masters, I suppose. Maybe the reason for it was to become either a master fencing examiner or a master of arms at the court. Who knows? And by trying to do that, you would have to make a difference. You had to be apart from all the other. So, being erudite, knowing his stuff, and show that he had some above average cultural level. Okay. Yeah, I think really that Godinho had this idea that he understood clearly space and time, geometry, but he was not as educated as, for instance, Diogo Gomes de Figueiredo. Diogo Gomes de Figueiredo was a later Portuguese author. He wrote the Destreza, but he was a man of the court. He had very good education. You his books, like quoting other authors all the time. And so, who knows, maybe, just maybe, Godinho was like that soldier that De Vega praised, that he was a guy not very fortunate, but through effort, through sheer effort, he tried to come above all the others and get a better way of life. And that's it. I don't know if you have any questions. If you do, go ahead. Nothing? Okay, let's have dinner.
What were all those hands?
Como?
All the bigger hands around the...
Oh yeah. Let me see. I don't know how to.
No final. Último slide.
These. Yeah. Arte de Esgrima. Where do I put this? I really don't know.
Precisa do lado direito, mais para a direita. Sim.
Okay, well. I'm not
Mais
very
acima, esquerda, places, aí. Esquerda, mais.
Como?
Mais à esquerda um bocadinho.
I'm very technical. I'm Portuguese. Anyway, so these hands, the book has no illustrations whatsoever. Besides a sort of altar with a cross, something like that, and these hands. These hands sometimes point to some
notes.
some notes that perhaps you want to. Hey, look at this.
Notes.
See, interestingly, and I don't remember exactly where, I saw a hand pretty close to one of these in one of the records for marriage, deaths, and baptisms we have in Lisbon. So the dioceses, when someone was born and was baptized, the priest or something, someone who wrote, would put, so in this day it was baptized, Joanna, daughter of so and so, and the godfather and the godmother were these and so on. So actually, it's interesting literature because, I know it's boring. No, it's interesting. It's interesting because you can see who lived in Lisbon or Santarém or whatever, and who were the godfathers and godmothers, and sometimes people of importance. And interestingly, we have in Lisbon, some parts of Lisbon, this is also interesting. For instance, in Belém, we have a lot of slaves, okay? But in some other parts of Lisbon, almost have none, okay? And it's either baptism or marriage, and sometimes the God's people were people of importance. So it was just some random, it was like duke of someone, count of something else, okay? And they were slaves. So probably they were like, this is my favorite slave. Yeah, slave, but a favorite slave, okay? And so, yeah, in one of those, I don't remember where, perhaps I have in some of my records, a hand like this. So, perhaps, who knows, Godinho just approached that same person. Hey, do you want to earn some bucks? Okay, so I'll dictate and you write.
Yeah, percent.
And sometimes perhaps he was dictating and he was saying, well, so you stand with the sword like this, and then you do this with the rodela. No, it's rabbit. It's not the rodela. It's dagger. Yeah, dagger. So you use the dagger. So I think it's interesting. He was thinking of something and then he meant something else. That's why rodela was, it's also my favorite set of weapons. It was his as well, I think. Well, anyway, these are the hands. The mystery behind the hands. Okay, any other question?
Other questions?
Sure.
I want to know, like, what's the Godinho's social status at the moment? Like, what kind of people he is? So he was like making this kind of books.
We don't know, because all we know, I tried to find out. Unfortunately, I was not successful. Perhaps one of you will be. Who knows? I don't know. I would like that, but I was not successful in terms of discovering who Godinho might be. For instance, if I had this record of his death, okay, or holy anointment, okay, when people were dying, they would be blessed by the priest, and so they would die pure and because their soul clean and so on. Sometimes we can hint the social strata or social position from who was by his side. Okay, so imagine that you get married, okay, and people who are like your godfathers and godmothers and so on are just common people. Okay, that's okay. But imagine that you get married and your godfather is the queen, your godmother is the queen, and your godfather is the duke of something. Well, I think you have some status, right? I think we all agree. Unfortunately, with Godinho, we know nothing of it. Like, it was from Santarém, which is, well, city is some 100 kilometers north of Lisbon, for those who don't know. We don't know if he taught in Santarém or Lisbon or somewhere else. We don't know. It was probably, like I said, a commoner, not people of some education. I don't know if he could write or read. Really, we don't know that. So it was just that. And he was most probably married. That's what with this Maria Dias-Vila. That's what all we know. Sorry.
Like continuously for that book, like what kind of effect that it made for that moment, like no matter the whole society or like only for the military part, what kind of effect it had?
Okay, I think I get it. Okay. Look, in my view, in my opinion, Luís is also there. I think he approves. I think he had some sort of former military experience. And why? Not only because of the emphasis he gives to rodela. It's mainly a military weapon, okay, not civilian. Usually you don't go to a pub or something with a rodela. It's big, okay. But for military standpoint, a rodela, it's a very useful weapon. Imagine yourself, you're in a storm party, okay, attacking a galley or attacking a breach in a fortress, okay, the walls crumble and you're attacking. In front of you, so you're part of a storming party. In front of you, a guy with a montante. And the guy with the montante just, he cuts heads and arms and legs and so on. It's like, spilling blood all over. And you all, with the rodela, you go a little bit detached. Okay, so he opens the way. Everybody starts seeing people flying all over. They just run away, and the guy with the rodela just follow and do the cleansing. Okay, because with the rodela they are very well protected. So this is my view. Also, he refers a lot to military situations. You know, the military ranks, the mestre de campo, blah 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 blah. Or for instance, when you're doing the tenting the sword, you know, trying the sword. He says a lot that, well, imagine yourself that you're a soldier and you're sent by your captain to scout the enemy field. Okay, you don't just scout like that and go. Hey, you have to be careful because if you go too far, maybe you cannot get back. So just like when you're tempting with a sword, okay, you have to be careful. Careful. Okay. So what will he do? Oh, he does nothing. Okay, let's follow. Or what will he do? Oh, reacts. Okay, retreat. So a lot of military references. So probably he was a military man or ex-military. Okay. I don't know if this answered your question. Sort of. Okay. Mais? Sorry, mais alguém? Ninguém?
What were his chances of becoming a master if he wrote in broken Spanish in the first place?
Well, supposedly, if he was this Master Domingos that's been referred in Lisbon, and I say Lisbon because in these letters of mark of authorization, they usually write something for this guy, for instance, Diniz. Okay, I authorize Diniz, blah blah blah, from Santiago de Compostela. Okay, this letter was written in the city of Lisbon. And then I authorized Paulo from Cascais to do something written in the city of Lisbon. And then I authorized Igor to do this. And, hey, did you notice that I don't say where do you live? I said where he lives, not you. What do you think of it?
Not as important.
Or perhaps you're from Lisbon. Because if you're not from Lisbon, usually they will say from this place or that place. But if you're from Lisbon, it's like, yeah. Like, who cares? Maybe she was from Lisbon. Maybe because he wrote in broken Spanish, he was like, well, yeah, he's okay, but this other guy, Gonçalo Barbosa, we don't know if he was Portuguese or Spanish. This guy is better, and he's from this other new school of Carranza. Okay, we'll elect him for becoming the new Master of Arms of Mouços Cidadãos. But maybe this guy Godinho, well, it's okay, you wrote this stuff, why not? Let's appoint him to become a fencing examiner. Who knows? I don't know. But maybe it was his chance. Just an idea.
And also maybe the idea of what was the correct language wasn't as strictly knowledge as we think of it today. I mean, they were multilingual courts. They had nobles going back and forth. They had people speaking all sorts of broken.
Eventually, he didn't choose to write in broken Spanish. For him, it was perfect.
It was like a sort of Paulo food. I think Portuguese Spanish, but not like Jorge Jesus. No, it